Alright, what's going on, Forgotten Nation? I'm your host, FG, and welcome back to another episode of Celeste. Last we left off, we took to the Golden Ridge and ascended the Gondola of Death. Not the official name, but I feel like it's pretty close. So, anyways, up next is a pretty big chapter in the story, because not only does it reveal a little more about Celeste Mountain, but we begin to see a lot more of what Granny mentioned back in Chapter 2 about how this is no ordinary mountain, and things are gonna get intense. Welcome to Chapter 5, the longest chapter in the game, outside DLC of course. This is the Mirror Temple. Let's begin. A postcard from Celeste. Did you know? Most climbing mishaps occur due to exhaustion. Remember to take regular breaks. For those that don't know, this is the same record session since episode 3, and I wouldn't mind a break, honestly. Alright, the chapter begins. So, this is a temple as old as the mountain itself. First things first though, we're going to go back a little bit, because there are some secrets to be found. If we head all the way down here, there's a strawberry. And I don't think there's anything up this way, but you could try. But hey, we got a strawberry. So now let's head inside the Mirror Temple. So, as I mentioned, this is as old as the mountain itself. Now, there's a lot more questions and answers in this chapter, if I'm really being honest. The biggest question though, why does this exist, who made it, and what's going on? But first, looks like some bad things are happening. Yep, Theo went missing. He went missing in this ominous temple. But anyways, let's talk about the first real gimmick that the stage has to offer. It's these platforms. Now, unlike the platforms in the first chapter, these ones only react to Madeline when she uses her dash in the, whenever she uses her dash. And the second gimmick is a stronger version of the bubbles from last chapter. These ones ride you all the way to the destination, which means we're going to be using them quite a bit, especially trying to get through areas like these spike traps. But we just wasted our boost that we need in the air, so let's try it again. So these are the two big gimmicks right now. There's one more later on. Okay, I can do this. Come on. But we're going to be seeing this throughout the temple. Now, unlike other stages in Celeste, I would argue that the Mirror Temple, in its own right, feels like its own standalone game, in terms of how long it is. If anything, I would compare this chapter alone to a Metroidvania. Because, think about it this way, there's a lot of areas you're going to be going through. There's a lot of secrets to be found. And when you find one area, you're going to have to backtrack to another area, because we have to find the keys in order to progress forward. Which means there's a lot of exploration in this chapter, a lot of trial and error. More importantly, trying to figure out which way you need to go, what you need to grab. And this one could take easily as long as some of the other chapters, but I would argue that this is the longest chapter that the game has to offer. The base game, that is. I do think that there's something that's very much longer after this, but it's not part of the main game. We'll talk about it in time, but nothing just yet. Nothing just yet. But anyways, there's a lot of spike traps, so you gotta make sure that when you're dashing, that you're not going straight into it. It's important that you consider like the timing of the dash as well as when you want to move forward. Really, it's just a lot of trial and error with the stage. And of course, there's a lot of secrets to be found that, personally, I didn't even know many of these secrets the first time I played the stage. And it's not easy. It really is not easy. But just remember, make sure you try to check every nook and cranny. And one of the good things about trying to complete Celeste is, once you finish the stage, I believe I mentioned this in the first episode, there are checkpoints that allow you to return to previous points in a chapter. Like right now, this is just one big section, but when we get to the next section, you'll see there's a mark on the wall that has Celeste Mountain. That's a checkpoint. So when you finish the chapter, or you stop the chapter, say midway through, you can return to that specific point in the chapter in order to continue where you were. And the game tells you how many more strawberries you have, how many you need, and even other bonuses such as the cassette tape. There's only one bonus though it doesn't tell you about. And some of you may already know what that bonus is, but I don't want to go into spoiler territory just yet. But hey, we found Theo. Hashtag blessed. Alright, so Theo seems like he's in quite the pinch right now. He's trapped on the other side of the mirror. And if there's one thing you know from previous chapters, battle line came from the mirror. So, what awaits? Only time tells. But now we know what we have to do, so let's try to save Theo. First, though, I would say I like strawberries. They're a great fruit. They're red just like apples. And they're very juicy. After all, have you ever tried making a pie out of strawberries? They're delicious. Especially when you top it with sugar. Ooh. I'm looking forward to it. I can't say it's as good as, say, an apple pie. If anything, I prefer my strawberries with chocolate. But anyways, so this next section is one of the bigger ones. There's another one coming up that's even bigger though. But the biggest gimmick here is the lanterns. They light up when you pass them, which means the first time you're playing through this, it's going to be very dark and you may not know where to go. But anyways, we have another strawberry that we can't use the dash on. We'll give it a try or two. A lot of the stage, besides trying to figure out where to go next, is trying to go for the strawberries. And that may not be for everyone, which means you may not spend as much time in this stage as, say, a later stage. If anything, this might be one of your fastest stages going forward because you don't want all the strawberries. But it is still a lengthy stage just because of its trial and error especially, but even two, just because of the amount of content there is in the stage. Think about it. Look how many places there are compared to where I've been going right now. This is one section mixed in with the central hub down below. So I mean, I'm going area to area and there's still so much to do. And a lot of it is dangerous. But be careful here. Climb up, don't want the spikes, and grab the strawberry. In some ways, this game screams strawberries, because it wants you to try to go for all these secrets. As we saw though in Chapter 2, they're only good for one thing, an epilogue you get after the game's ending. And there's a total of at least 5 different endings that the game has to offer. But I'll talk more about it when the time comes. I don't want to say too much just yet. But let's keep going. Take it nice and easy. So we're moving forward, and once you do, you're not going to be able to go back. Which means make sure you take each area as you see it, because if you're really trying to go for all the secrets in one playthrough, more often than not, your first time around, you're going to get trapped in a new area and you're not going to be able to go back to a previous one. So say like all those strawberries in the first area, yeah, I can't get them no more, because I've been blocked off to this next section. Which means the only thing we can do is keep moving forward. But don't worry, there's plenty of strawberries to try to grab. So let's keep going. My master goal for the end of this LP is to at least get 100. At least 100. And we're very close to that. But at the same time, it's worth mentioning that with the main game alone, we're already more than halfway through the end of Celeste. which means this game, as far as substance-wise with the main game, is kind of shallow in some aspects. But don't worry, there's still lots more content thanks to the B-sides. So it's not that this game's very short, and remember this game is over 25-30 bucks, but there is still a lot more to do. It's not over just yet. And I think that's especially true for those that try to complete the game to its full glory. I'm not saying I would recommend it for one reason later on, but I'm just saying that there is still more to it than what may just appear to be just the main game. I really do recommend for anyone that plays through the main game, try out the B-sides, and at least go for the bonus chapter after the main game. But again, I'll talk more about it later. And then here's the other thing. Celeste is not an easy game. I've made many parallels back when I played the original on the Pico 8, that the one game it reminds me of the most is Super Meat Boy. And I think that's especially true in terms of how much you die in both of the games. One is made to be difficult, another is just trial and error. I'll let you choose which one's which. But anyways, unlike Super Meat Boy, Celeste does have one extra addition for players that really want to see the end of it, but may have a hard time throughout. And that is known as the accessibility options. Essentially, it's pretty straightforward. You're able to either have unlimited dashes, infinite health, and essentially just, I guess you'd call it a god mode in some case. But it allows for any casual player that the challenge isn't for everyone. I can understand that there's some people that may not like platformer games, and who knows, maybe they just want to see the story of Celeste. And that's where the accessibility mode comes in. It allows you to play through the game and not have to worry about being so terrible at it that you're not going to see the end of it. Believe me, in the past there have been games that I've wanted to see the end of, but I just can never get through. Not so much modern times, I feel like games have gotten easier as of recent. But it is true, there have been games in the past, especially of Retro's past, that they're just too hard for an average player. One of my personal go-tos in this case would be you could say Ghouls and Ghosts, but I was gonna say Ghosts and Goblins. Sure, anyone can play it, but honestly, it's a very hard game that not everyone's gonna complete. I still haven't completed Ghosts and Goblins to this day. Not the arcade version, not the NES version. Ironically, though, the arcade version has a cheat. I don't know if it's the Konami code. No, because that's Capcom, not Konami. But I know there's like a 99 live cheat code you can use. I think. But anyways, let's just keep going. We got the keys, so we're gonna keep going forward. In some ways, I do think it is forgiving that this game does have the accessibility options. Again, not every player is going to care. Some of them are going to use it all the way through. But I do think that there is, remember what I've been saying since the first episode, risk and reward. You can try to play this game as much as you want, but unless you're really trying through it, the reward at the end is not going to feel very satisfying at all. You didn't earn it, you didn't take any risk, so therefore the reward is meaningless. But if you really try and you're really giving your best efforts, that reward is definitely well worth the paid risk. Because after all, you spent so much time playing the game, you want something to be satisfied about. You worked hard for it. That's very much true with Celeste, and I do think it does pay off if you play the game without the accessibility, but there's always just going to be a case where you just need the accessibility options. It's just too much. So I don't blame anyone. But we need a key in order to move ahead, but we don't have that. So that's one secret I'm not going to be able to show. Anyways though, let's continue forward. And here's where things get really ominous. Let's climb up above. And let's ascend above the temple. Which honestly is a lot bigger than I thought it would be from the outside. Alright, we have two switches. One to the left. One to the right. And it reveals a giant mirror. A fractured mirror. So, let's go into the mirror. And we're sucked in. Alright, so in this section is going to show off another gimmick, the final gimmick of this chapter. The statues that we've been seeing throughout the stage have manifested. And remember this eyeball monster from chapter 2? Well, it's been given life. The eyeball monster is a nefarious being. He's able to dash just like Madeline, and more importantly, he will give chase if he sees Madeline. But there's one thing he can't do. He cannot go through these barriers, no matter how hard he tries. Remember this as we move forward. But he can break these structures, and when he does, oh baby, he's going after Madeline. Gory. Truly gory. So, we wake up, and where are we? Well, welcome to the Mirror Realm. And hey, look, it's Madeline. What do you have to say for yourself, Madeline? The Mirror Realm is a very dangerous place, and what Madeline says has some substance to it. This is because of the mountain's power. The power to magnify what's going on in Madeline's head. So all this is because of her. Though we'll be seeing something later on in the chapter, but that's going to do it for this episode of Celeste. That in mind, it's only going to get more twisted from here on out. So, if you like this episode, be sure to leave a like and comment down below. And as always, I'll see you in the next episode. I don't think this is a time you'd want to say YOLO. Rather, help me out of here.